guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic, and welcome back to the channel. And today, for you guys, this is another movie review. Today we're tackling the newest MCU film, Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, aka Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So, this is, oh boy. So, with this film, okay, look, I wanted to see it earlier, because I didn't want to get spoiled, and I was spoiled on one or two things. However, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I would go out and see it because it's making no freaking money. I don't even think it's going to make its money back. So if you are interested, I would go see it. You know, like I said, I know it's tough because not many MCU movies get 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, right? Or 40, 50, whatever. I think this is in the 40s. Thor: Love and Thunder, not good. You know what I mean? For critics, at least. Myself, I wasn't the biggest fan of Love and Thunder, but, you know, I own it on Blu-ray, alright? It's not the worst movie ever, but it's got some issues. This film, however, I was kind of nervous about, because Ant-Man has always been a movie franchise for me where I like the first two, but it's nowhere near, you know, The Winter Soldier, or Civil War, or Guardians of the Galaxy, or Spider-Man. You know, it's, the Ant-Man, those two Ant-Man movies are kind of like The Incredible Hulk, or Captain Marvel, or Thor 1 and 2, you know what I mean? They're good, and I don't hate them by any means, and they're watchable, and they're great films, but they're not as standout as, say, Shang-Chi, or Endgame, or Far From Home, or whatever, you know what I mean? Even shows like Loki, or you know, Moon Knight. So, going into Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I was like, alright, look, the first two Ant-Man movies are okay, you know, I like them, but they're not as, you know, kapow, stick with you as the other films. And, you know, you don't necessarily need that, but with Quantumania, it definitely, at least in my opinion, it does stick out as being the best out of the trilogy, the best looking, for an extent. Again, I'm going to get into the stuff in a minute here, but right now, like I said, I went into this movie a little bit late, and I went into it knowing that it had a 40% of Rotten Tomatoes. If you are like me, watch it. Go out and see it and form your own friggin' opinion, okay? Because I know people, you know, and people on the internet especially who were like, oh, it's got a 40%? I'm not going to watch that. It sucks. Did you see it? No. And there you go. Go and effing watch it and form your own opinion. It shouldn't be that hard. But I did that, and I actually enjoyed it. Now, there are issues with the film. However, I don't think right now this film deserves a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I genuinely don't think that. I think it's a good movie. In fact, it's my favorite out of the three. However, there are some negatives, okay? Again, spoiler-free. I'm going to try to do this to the best of my ability here. But there are a few inconsistencies with the story. I get it, you know, I guess it is. When you have an MCU, you know what I mean? Look, Ninjago, Star Wars, you know, those two, for example, they're massive franchises. Absolutely massive. There's a ton of lore. But the MCU is one that keeps going and going and going and going and going. You know what I mean? They're going to keep going for a long time. So there's bound to be inconsistencies. It shouldn't have happened. But if you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, you know what I'm talking about for Quantumania. So, you know, there's some story things like that. There's also some CGI mishaps. Now, look, there, you know, I guess talking about the woke aspect, you know, the MCU has been very woke recently in their movies and shows. I think that's, you know, even people on the left can agree, even people on the right can agree. It's just, it is what it is. It's woke. And me, I don't like that. So, along with 99% of the population, I like to think. So, you know, with this, it was like, is this going to be woke? What's going to be woke? There wasn't anything woke. As in, there wasn't anything that was far left in your face, which is nice. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's far right or far left. I don't want anything. I just want a good product. Most part, it's a good product. But it was refreshing to see a MCU movie that didn't have anything either left or right-leaning, you know, shoving down your throat. It actually was just a Marvel movie, which is nice. But that leads me on to the CGI, because that aspect of, you know, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever was better than the first one. However, there were some issues I had with it that were a little woke, and one of the things that I don't think they wanted this to come out in an interview, but someone leaked that the reason why this film, Quantumania, doesn't look as good is because they put all the resources into Wakanda Forever. I think we all know why. So with that, it doesn't look that great. You know, some of the shots, I'll admit, some of the shots in the choreography and the cinematography, I should say, it's beautiful, right? The quantum realm looks very good, you know what I mean? The clouds and the colors, it's very colorful, very vibrant. It very much is a good-looking movie in terms of its aesthetic. Once you dig a little deeper, though, to the actual, I guess, you know, CGI inconsistencies, and, you know, for me, look, 75% of the people watching these movies, they watch them, they like them, or they dislike them, and they go home. Me, I have to review it, so I have to, of course I watch it for entertainment, but, knowing I was going to do this review, I have to think of some things that I don't really like, and the CGI is one of those things. It isn't bad, but there's a few moments where Ant-Man is where he's tiny and he's running, or Cassie Lang is in her little Ant-Man suit and she's running. The animation for the running animation is very poorly done. It looks like something on the CW for the Flash show. Looks like dog cheeks. There's a lot of really weird moments where, some of the shots look beautiful, and then some of them look like they're clearly in front of a green screen. Like it's like they filmed like the Star Wars prequels. I love the Star Wars prequels, right? But I'll admit they have a butt ton of problems. One of those butt ton problems in the Star Wars prequels is the CGI, right? George, it's CGI everything. It's gonna look great. He was like that. He just CGI'd everything. He was like barfing computer-generated images. That's what he was doing. And a lot of the prequels don't look good now because of that. Some of it does, some of it doesn't. But that's just an example. This film looks good sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't look that good. And it is noticeable. When you're watching it and you're in the moment, it goes by. But when you think about it, it's like, that one shot was a little wonky, And I get it. There's always going to be one or two shots in a movie, right? But when you have stuff like Avatar: The Way of Water, or Avengers Endgame, or Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, movies that, in my opinion, look photoreal, for the 99% photoreal, having something like this just ain't cutting the mustard anymore. This, like Avatar: The Way of Water, is at least in terms of its CGI, that movie is proof. All right, it's irrefutable proof that if you put good amount of time and a good amount of money into a film, it will look 99 to almost 100% photoreal, right? And this film, they clearly didn't have that money. I think a lot of the critiques, we also know there's a lot of crunch, right? The MCU, the CGI guys, they are forced to work on other projects, and they don't have enough time for this one or that one. There's also like a trillion Marvel shows coming out every freaking year. There's 100 movies coming out. And while I like MCU content, I'm not complaining about the content. I am complaining about the quality, right? Quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. In this case, it should be quality over quantity. If there's only one MCU show the entire year, then so be it. If it's a damn good show, you know what I mean? If there's only 2 MCU movies the whole year, then so be it. If they're good movies, you know what I mean? They shouldn't have to go, we're having Ant-Man and the Wasp one day, and Loki season 2, and Moon Knight, and Wanda, and this and that. It's like, just stop for a second, okay? Just stop, take a breath, and then just think about it, you know what I mean? Instead of pumping out a billion thingies a year, make them a little less maybe, and then make them look better. Maybe, that's an idea, right? I'm just saying. I know it's not a revolutionary idea, but again, there's a lot of stuff out there similar to, like, I guess Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, right? TT Games, they have all this crunch. Same kind of thing with this, right? They're kind of forced to work on certain things, and that's why certain things fail. So yeah, in terms of CGI, a bit of a long rant on that, but again, it's just cut and dry, man. Take more time on your projects, and they will look better. Most of this movie looks good, okay? Most of it looks fine. But then there's certain moments where they're running really weird, or Cassie's running like this, like she's got noodles for arms, or, Ant-Man doing, he's kind of going, normal to small, and he's punching guys in the quantum realm. The animation's really bad. There's just not enough care into the CGI, into, the thought of it all. And that kind of sucks, because it brings the whole thing down. The writing, I thought, was good, except for there's a dick joke, and I'm only saying that word because they say the word dick, like, 5 goddamn times in a single sentence. And I get it, it's supposed to be funny, but I didn't laugh. It was cringy. It has to do with Cassie and MODOK, which, again, MODOK is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. That brings me to MODOK. So yeah, again, CGI, most of it's good, some of it's kind of wonky. Writing, most of it's good. 1 or 2 things are a little wonky. In terms, of course, acting is always going to be good. Actually, no, I'm going to talk about acting. We're gonna sidetrack. Talk about acting. I think everyone's great. I think, Ant-Man, Wasp, Janet, Hank, whoever, they're all good, right? The ants are good. I think Anton gave a really good performance. But in terms of the acting that was the best, obviously I think the whole internet can agree that Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, Kang is a very good villain so far. I don't think he's the best MCU villain. He kind of talks quietly and slowly, and then he just, like, makes a poopy face. and apparently that's like really, really badass now. I don't know. I mean, the last MCU villains we got were some crazy dumb lady from Miss Marvel and a crazy. I thought it was a drag queen. I swear to Christ, and She-Hulk. I think that was an actual woman. I hope, but yeah, it's just some of the recent villains have not been good. All right, they're very weak and very kind of not very menacing. And Kang is menacing. Not as menacing as other MCU villains, but he's good. I think he's good. So the acting really good. Now, as far as bad acting, I think that the girl who plays Cassie Lang, of course, she was recasted because, right, she looked different in Endgame, and then they recast her for some reason. I don't know. I swear to God, the girl in Endgame who has like 2 effing scenes in that movie, maybe even 1, she's a better actress than Cassie in this film. Yes. Obviously, she's, you know, the new Cassie in this film, Quantumania, right? She was in Detective Pikachu. I'm sure she was in other things. I know Detective Pikachu 2 got a director, so I'm sure she's going to return in that. And she's hot. And those are the only 2 reasons, right? That's it. Like, they clearly cast her because she's pretty. They clearly cast her because she's in other things. But they clearly didn't cast her because she's a good actress. Because I swear to Christ, every scene she's on, or excuse me, every scene she's in, she has the same expression. I can't do it because I'm not her, but, you know, if Ant-Man's, like, really emoting, and Kang is really, you know, they're all emoting and they're all acting, she's just standing there, like, the whole time. It's just one singular expression throughout, like, even when she's supposed to be like, Dad! She just goes, Dad! It's like, you know what I mean? Like, do better. You're in an MCU movie and she's... it makes me mad, you know what I mean? Because she's a horrible actor, at least in this, in my opinion. And she's already set for life. And meanwhile, I gotta work my ass off, and, you know, I'm probably better than her. I don't know. It is what it is, right? Such is the way of the Force. But, yeah, she wasn't the best. Moving on from that to MODOK. Okay, we're finally at that. Because that kind of ties in with CGI and acting and writing, right? MODOK's like the center of everything. So, quick word of advice. I do read Marvel Comics. Not so much now because they're all woke propaganda. But a lot of the stuff back in the day, right, including like the Lego Marvel games, Lego Marvel 1, I think he's in Avengers, he's in Lego Marvel 2. There's a MODOK TV show which I haven't seen, but I know about MODOK, right? I know his backstory, which is not similar to this. It's completely different, but I won't tell you. MODOK is a big head, as in a giant face inside of a giant face-holding machine with tiny baby arms and tiny baby legs. That's what he is. He's supposed to look stupid as fudge. So when you see him in this movie, yeah, he looks stupid as fudge. The mask on him, you know, the little thingy, the armor around his face, albeit, you know, for a stupid man baby with a giant-ass head, it looks kind of cool. But when you take it off, there's clearly an issue. Yes, a lot of people are not liking MODOK online because he looks so retarded stupid. And I don't like you, but he looks so stupid. He looks completely insane. And that is the point. Okay, read a comic, do some research. He's supposed to look dumb and silly. That's the character. However, he's also supposed to be a murderous murderer. So he does do some stuff in this film that's a bit wonky, but for the most part, he's kind of comic relief. And I'm not going to tell you who MODOK is. I just tell you, you know, they changed the backstory. But that dick joke I was talking about with Cassie and MODOK, that's like his giant character arc. It's easily the worst character arc in the entire MCU. Probably one of the worst character arcs in film history, period. But again, look, I'm not saying MODOK looks stupid, and that's a bad thing, because he's supposed to look stupid. And that's a good thing, right? It's comic accurate. The bad part about MODOK is that the CGI for his face is god-freaking awful, alright? It looks bad. And I'm not saying like, oh, you know, there's that one shot of Cassie running, looked kind of wonky, her noodle arms were flapping in the wind. That's fine, you know, that's a negative, but it's such a small, minute thing. MODOK is a main player in this film. And a lot of the scenes, he doesn't have his mask on. So you're seeing his face, and it's just, it's not good, and I don't know, I'm not saying I could do better, but again, when you have movies like Avatar: The Way of Water, or Shang-Chi, or Endgame, or The Rise of Skywalker, hell, the entire sequel trilogy of Star Wars looks photoreal in my opinion. There's so many things, you know, Endgame looks good. There's so many Marvel movies that look good with CGI people, right? There's some that don't look that good. Take Luke Skywalker from the Book of Boba Fett, right? I don't care what anyone says. I love the show, right? I'm not here to talk about love or dislike. I'm just talking about Luke himself. The Luke that we see in the Book of Boba Fett is hands down the best CGI thing I've ever seen in my entire life, period. And it's from a TV show, not a movie. So clearly they have money to do a photoreal CGI human, right? They just didn't do it. And maybe they deliberately made it look wonky for the, I guess for the silliness of it, but every time you see MODOK's face, his mouth moves, his eyes move, it clearly looks CG. And I'm not like a CGI god, alright? I'm not just, you notice, alright? I want my dad and my uncle, both of them friggin' noticed, I guarantee it, because it's so jarringly awful. It does take you out of it. At first, it's funny, because it's like, wow, look at that big head! But then as you're trying to take the film seriously, and Kang is a serious, badass villain, and then you got floating baby head over here, looking like the effing balloon from Phineas and Ferb, right? It doesn't, you know what I mean? It looks like an egg. It looks like the guy from Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Mr. Electric, I think. It's like really, really bad CGI. And it's probably one of the worst effects I've seen in a Marvel movie, period. And again, I know a lot, the money went to Wakanda Forever. Perfect. Make Wakanda Forever look great. But here's an idea. Make Quantumania look great too. Huh? Everything you have crossed your mind? I don't know. But as far as the negatives, there's quite a lot. Like I said, some of the script is a bit wonky. I think the ending, the very last moments of the movie is kind of stupid. I really didn't get it. It was a joke, and I didn't laugh. The MODOK, right? CGI is a bit wonky. There's a few things that don't make sense in the film, right? But as far as all of that, it is the most fun Ant-Man movie. It's also the funniest. While most of the jokes do land, again, there's the one or two that don't. It really is a funny movie. I think it's one of the funniest Marvel movies. It's definitely the funniest Ant-Man film. It's the most intense Ant-Man movie, the most badass Ant-Man movie, the one where you're like, wow, this is really cool, and there's stuff that I'm going to remember. I barely remember Ant-Man 1 and 2. I like them, but they're not that memorable. This one is memorable. Sometimes for bad reasons, sometimes for good, but again, it's mostly good. So I know I've been talking crap about this film, and I don't mean to, but I do have to be honest. There are some things I didn't like, but I don't think it deserves that 40%. I don't think it deserves all this hate that it's getting online. I think a lot of people, saw MODOK and they jumped ship and they panicked. But again, if you are worried about it and you're seeing all these videos online, oh, Marvel's in trouble, the MCU's in trouble, Kathleen Kennedy's crying in a corner, all these clickbait BS things. Newsflash, if an Ant-Man video has like a butt ton of views and it's got a kind of a clickbaity title or like a thumbnail with like Kathleen's eyes bulging out of her head like the mask, it's probably a clickbait video, not worth your time. I don't even click on it because it's clickbait. This is not clickbait. I gave you my honest review, so hey, drop a like, alright? Come on, let's be honest. But anyway, like I said, there's a lot of these reviews out there that aren't very honest, and they try to make you feel like the MCU's in trouble. And yes, I'll admit, the MCU has been dwindling a bit for me in terms of quality, in terms of their woke propaganda. It's kind of been getting a little friggin' insane. But thankfully, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania might not be the best start to Phase 5, but it's certainly, at least I didn't see anything woke, so that's a good positive. And it's a fun movie. It's funny, it's fun, it's intense, it's action-packed. Again, there's a few lines that are weird, a few CGI things that are really weird. It just makes you wonder why they didn't, delay this or make it look better. It's very easy to criticize CGI and say, oh, it's bad and it's shit, and you move on. But there are a lot of people, and primarily it really is about time and management, right? If you give the best CGI guys in the world a week to do something, it's gonna look like poop. If you give them a year, it'll look better than that week. You know what I'm saying? So it's not laziness, I don't think. It's not just inept stupidity. It is the fact that Marvel is telling them to move on to other things and don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna look good. It didn't look good. Again, a lot of the shots in this film look really great. There's one effect where Ant-Man turned into Giant Man for a second, and you see Cassie at normal, my height almost, and it looks perfect. And then there's other shots that are just really horribly well done, and it makes me cringe. Like MODOK, or those scenes where Cassie's running, you know what I mean? It's just, they're small things, but they lead up to that giant buildup in the end, and that, of course, overall view, which I'm going to give this film. Overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. It isn't the worst MCU film ever. I think it's very much being overhated right now. It is worth your time if you like Marvel. If you like the MCU, I would go check it out. I think it's not the best MCU film ever, but I enjoyed it. So I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'll give it a B. I think that's fair. I don't think it deserves anything lower than a B in terms of my review. In terms of Rotten Tomatoes, you guys know me. I don't even watch Rotten Tomatoes. I really don't give a crap. You know what I mean? If I like it or if I dislike it, it's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? I'm not calling you sheep, but there are people out there that are sheep and they see that 41 and they panic and they don't see it, right? Which is kind of bad. Now, maybe you'll watch it and you'll hate it. Maybe you'll watch it and you'll love it. Maybe you'll watch it and you'll like it like me. You know what I mean? I have some issues. I think it's good and a little bit of bad. But overall, again, I think it's not the best start to Phase 5. But hopefully we'll get some more in the future. But hey, it wasn't woke and it was just a good, Marvel film for the most part. Kind of wish that it had some better writing and the CGI got a little bit of a touch-up. But overall, it is memorable, it's funny, and it's fun. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.